then you need to be listed on metamorphosisconnections.com. It's a network where you can grow with like-minded practitioners and reach new clients. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory you need to list yourself and your business. Our platform makes it easy for you to create listings of your products and services, and you can also choose to list your classes, events, and so much more. Metamorphosisconnections.com helps you create weekly and monthly promotional ads targeted towards your potential clients and promotes them for you via social media and newsletter. There are clients searching for your specialty right now. Let us help them find you. Start your listing today so you can share your own unique gifts and talents by finding the level of membership that best fits your needs. Let us help you reach your clients that are searching for what you do. Visit metamorphosisconnections.com and sign up today.
Are you one of thousands of individuals who know you have psychic abilities but don't know how to tap into your higher self? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who offers classes that can help you reach your goals. Refined Divine holds classes Monday and Thursday at her 2 locations and via Zoom. Classes consist of manifestation, learning psychic abilities, shadow work, and healing trauma. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
This is Psychic Medium Deb. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies tonight with a low around 49, Thursday a chance for rain with a high near 64, and Friday partly sunny with a high around 60. Since 1984, Cafe Latte has been serving up the freshest baked goods and modern comfort food in a cafeteria setting. Their menu is prepared with the best ingredients available. Cafe Latte is a leader in sustainable dining, composting their food and paper waste along with recycling everything they can. More at cafelatte.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story. This is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us on this Wednesday evening. Very happy to be talking with you all tonight. Meanwhile, way over in Eden Prairie, we have Adam tonight. And how are you doing, Adam?
Doing well tonight, sir. It's nice to be out here on a Wednesday evening when the weather is actually decent for once, as opposed to the last couple of Wednesdays where it's either been chilly or raining cats and dogs. So today was actually very nice.
And we haven't really talked about the fact that that you know the day of the big storm that was supposed to come through here. You and I were both here, right? That's Monday, yeah. So we're both at the station, and I don't want to be one of those people who are like, the weather people, they're telling us all this stuff and nothing happens. I'd rather have nothing happen than towns being blown down by tornadoes in the Twin Cities. That's my thought on it.
Me too. There were a couple, I don't know if they were actually graded, that did touch down in southern Minnesota near the Iowa border.
Mm-hmm.
But here in the cities, it was almost like the Red Sea parted around Minneapolis and St. Paul, and that line of storms that should have really, really impacted us just split apart and went around. But there were a couple of sighted ones. Don't know if they actually got a rating Monday down in the southern portion of the state. So I hope everyone is safe from all that. I know in Rice County they had a couple of at least radar indicated twisters. So hopefully everybody down there was okay.
Well, and it's interesting because when I'm in my office and I'm working, and Monday, and I have Reed Timmer, his live feed going on one of my monitors because I just want to be up to date. And I'm walking down the hall to where Adam does his stuff, and his monitor also has Reed Timmer going as well. We were just really geeking out weather-wise over the weekend or on Monday. Also, I reached out to Justin Wenzel, who we've had on talking about severe weather, and he's a storm chaser and stuff. And he talked about, he was actually out Monday. He was able to get out and do some chasing himself, which is great. But he's just like, there was a number of reasons why it didn't really work out so well for him that day. And I don't think it's because of necessarily the weather per se, but it was just not as dynamic of a day that he thought it was going to be either. But once again, rather safe than sorry, right?
Absolutely. And I'm glad the level 4 risk that was over the Twin Cities ended up turning into a level 0. I'm very happy with that.
Absolutely. Now, I am really excited. A good friend of mine, a number of years back, decided that he is going to not just write a book, but he's going to write a series. I don't know if that's how writers generally start out per se, but it's quite the accomplishment. And so we had Daniel Myers on the program, I'd say about 2-3 years ago. And, I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of check in and see and talk about the books again, because when we last had him on, it was just a book. Now there are a couple of them. A third one is being worked on. And I love talking about the writing process. And I love also promoting local authors, especially startup authors as well. And we got a lot to talk about tonight. And I'd like to welcome Daniel Myers. Welcome to GhostBox Radio.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Very glad.
Very, very, very happy to hear you call me your friend.
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. Yeah, no, it was. Warm that lump in your chest called your heart, right? The coal. Dan and I have known each other. I mean, even calling you Daniel is just kind of weird to me.
Dan is fine.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. I mean, we've known each other for. I was trying to figure out, how long have you darkened my life? I'm trying to think.
I think about 35 years.
Yeah, which is odd because I'm 40. No. that ship sailed.
I think you were a teenager when I met you, though.
I was, and that the whole thing about that, folks, is because we were both working at a Doctor Who fan club. Except Dan wasn't. You're not really a fan of Doctor Who. You're just kind of there trying to bring guidance to a bunch of teenagers to try to turn this into something a little bit more organized, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I like Doctor Who. I mean, I am a fan of Doctor Who, but I'm not as passionate about it as you guys were.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Roger brought me in because of my accounting degree and just general business knowledge, and thought that I could help.
Yeah, because we were trying to do back in the day. We were trying to do like conventions. We're trying to bring this to the next level of from where it was, and we got a little ways, but we never, for various reasons, did not get to where we wanted to. But that's where I met Dan, and from there, is that when you really started going to like conventions like MiniCon and stuff through that? Had you gone before?
No, actually, yeah, that was when I got introduced to the conventions and the science fiction and the fantasy conventions and all of that. So, yeah, and to be introduced to it in that manner was actually really cool, because right from the get-go, I got kind of behind the scenes of how you get panelists, how you set up all these things. Yeah, so it was very interesting, really good experience at that time.
It was, and I was texting Roger, our mutual friend, and you've been friends with him pretty much your entire life. I guess in a sense, so have I. And I had mentioned because I'm just gonna say you had moved out of the state. I didn't realize that, and I said, I sent Roger a note like, oh my God, I didn't know he moved out of the state. And I said, I hate to say it. I mean, not to sound like I'm a curmudgeon, but I was like, I actually am sad about that, because I just didn't expect that. And so it's first of all, it's very nice to have you on, and I know that you're going to be back up, and we'll talk about that, because it actually parlays into your books that you've written. And the books, part and correct me when I get it wrong, because I will. The books it's going to eventually be a 3-part series, and the series is The Knight's Trial. The first one is Alliandre Rising, which is book 1 of The Knight's Trials. Second is Attack on Foresight, which is the second book. This is, I mean, when we had you on, it was just the first one. Why don't we start, Dan, by you talking to us about what this series is about, please?
The series as a whole kind of follows. It mainly follows Sibley and Alliandre, but there's 5 other kind of characters that they travel with and have been friends with for a long time. And actually, I kind of built the relationships on the relationships like we have, where, you were friends with Roger. I was friends with Roger. You and I were never like friends except for through Roger.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have different interpersonal relationships. And then there's the other Roger and some of the other people, my friends, Eric and Jerry, and, so how you get like a circle of friends, but the dynamics within that circle of friends is different because different ages, different interests, and different, I don't want to call them cliques, but within that group, they're people who are closer to each other than they are to other people.
Like circles.
So a lot of the interaction with the characters is kind of based on that. And I tried to write that dynamic in when I'm writing those characters. So that's part of the book, but the main storyline between the 3 books is, in the past, the Golden Elf had taken over the city of Vista in the Southern Kingdom. And so Sibley and Alliandre were refugees from the Southern Kingdom. They were wards of the king and queen. The queen escaped. And so the end of the 3 books is kind of the retaking of Vista. And that's the 3rd book that I'm working on right now. But in the meantime, a lot of stuff happens. Alliandre Rising really follows Alliandre as he prepares for a tournament and competes in a tournament in Foresight. It ends with an attack on Foresight. And then book 2, Attack on Foresight, is really the defense of the city. And I won't tell you if they're successful or not, but and then book 3 is going to go into the Southern Queen raising an army and going to retake the city of Vista, which is the capital of the Southern Kingdom.
So this is a fantasy series. Is that okay? And I mean, as long as I've known you and the circle of friends that you're talking about, fantasy has been a big part of your lives, right? I mean, it's fair to say, I know this, that you all played D&D. Eric, for example, is not only a gamer, but he creates games. When did that hit you? When was it like you started to really get into the whole fantasy genre?
Well, I liked fantasy even in elementary school, where I read like the C.S. Lewis books. And I mean, I always kind of liked those types of shows on television as well. And then, science fiction kind of was more of the junior high years. Then I read Tolkien, and then I was hooked.
Is that what did it for you? Was like Lord of the Rings and stuff?
Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit first, which I think I read in like 7th grade and was like, oh yeah, that was pretty good. And I started like Lord of the Rings, like Fellowship of the Ring, like 3 times. And then finally, I think in 10th grade, I read the series. I actually got through the first book and into the series. Wow. And then I remember like 11th grade, I read Silmarillion and was just like, I could not follow it. And it wasn't until about 10 years later when I read it again that I was like, okay.
Isn't that funny?
But I'd read the Lord of the Rings series a couple more times as well. So I think that's what I really like about Tolkien is he has built such a rich world with so much history and stuff that, I mean, it's like studying history to read his books. You can't just skim through them. So that kind of got me hooked.
I was gonna say, was that something that really appealed to you by being a world creator? You know, being able to create not even just a world but a universe, and all the rules that are laid upon it are yours.
Yeah, I really worked hard at the world building, and I mean, as Roger will tell you, I wrote short stories on a bunch of the characters, kind of about their history or things that happened in the past. I wrote a pretty detailed history of what had happened, 1,500 years ago and things that kicked off. So I've got a lot of lore that never makes it into the books, but that everything in the books kind of follows. So hopefully I don't have a lot of inconsistencies as far as that goes, and everything makes sense. But I think it's pretty well thought out. And then, the same with the cultures of the different races is I tried to have very kind of distinct cultural traits between them. I
love the fact that you are writing like even just for yourself the history of and all these separate like these almost novellas in a sense of information. And is that something then that you find yourself going back to time and time again when you're continuing writing?
Oh yeah. I don't quite have one of those boards with the yarn, but I've got a big glossary, and I have a bunch of stuff that's not in the glossary that just it's not relevant to the stories. It doesn't happen in the timeline of the stories. But when I created my glossaries, even, I just went through and I tried to get as much detail going through the book. Anything somebody had a question on, of my editors, I'm like, okay, put that in the glossary, put that in the glossary, put that in the glossary. And I asked them to like highlight words or terms or anything else that they thought, should be explained in the glossary. So that helped too. And I didn't give any of them any of the history stuff because they charge by the word, but I did try to give them a little background, just so that they'd have that in the back of their mind as they read it as well.
I didn't think about it, but when you're talking about having a glossary, it makes sense in that you're making up words. You're making up your own. I mean, how do you make up a word for something? How do you make up a brand new word that is about something that we could easily talk about in our language, or even make up a word to try to explain away something that's happening that advances the story?
Well, first of all, a lot of times I just use Gaelic.
Yeah.
Because it's uncommon. It sounds fantasy. Wow. And then, a lot of expressions, I try to make expressions that people will get that's not the same thing. Like I say, that apple has fallen from the tree, or
sure,
instead of saying it spilt milk, So I try to do that, and I just try to think of terms. And then as far as like races and names, there's a lot of things that I used 3 or 4 times, and you start saying it over and over and it sounds funny. Vreen is kind of like that. Even now, I kind of like, I don't really like green anymore, but it's already in the book, so I have to keep it. But so some of the names, the names of the races and the stuff like that, I'll either take words from different languages that sound cool, or I will just, like I said, make up something that sounds decent, and then go from there.
Oh, absolutely. Dan, why don't we go ahead and do this? I want to take our first break. When we come back, I want to talk more about the creative process. I want to talk about just anything that helps other writers, because this is quite the undertaking that Dan has taken. We got some questions in the comments, and anything. If you want to call in and talk to Dan, you can do so, 952-946-6205 as well. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations, exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information.
Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
It's that time of year again where the weather is getting nice and it's time to get out of the house for some family fun. Lilliput is the perfect place and is open for the season. Be the first to take on their newest escape room, The Bunker. It's intense, exciting, and totally unforgettable. Prefer spooky? Try the Haunted Mansion. When you're done escaping, hit the mini golf course, go-karts, and jump pads. Lilliput is perfect for parties and group events too. Visit lilliput.net for hours and start your spring adventures at Lilliput.
So, Adam, in the break here, we have two places. It's Wednesday, plenty of time to figure out what you're going to do this weekend. And in the break, we had two places that you can go to Friday night or Saturday night, one each night. You can go do the Minneapolis Trolley Tours, which we've heard a lot of people who have done so. We've done it as well. We've done a special version, didn't we? And you can go and do that and see the amazing 300 Clifton Mansion. And then you can go to Lilliput, do the mini golf, do the go-karts, do the escape room, and your weekend is pretty well set. That's all I know.
And both places are really, really cool. As you mentioned, we did the trolley tours. We had this special one that we did here with the station. And then I know last fall, my daughter, myself, my wife, one of my daughter's friends, we all went out to Lilliput. I got my booty handed to me in mini golf because I hadn't played in like 20 years, but it is an absolute blast. I will definitely suggest if you can get into one of the escape rooms, do it. That is so much fun. Better than the ones at MOA. I can tell you that for sure.
That's good. That's good. That's good intel. That's good intel. Also, I just want to say, and it's early, very early, but we'll be meeting with John and Norman over at 300 Clifton in the next week or so, and we might be planning a little something. Okay, so keep your ears open, because the last event we did at 300 Clifton in September was off the charts. And you don't want to miss these. This is this, I mean, when they put on an event and they allow us some exclusivity, this stuff is pretty insane and bigger and better than what they have for their regular tours, which is already big and better, you know. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so when we do the special one, be sure to hit up their website, and we will tell you when tickets are available for a special night with GhostBox.
We sure will. We sure will. And also just want to kind of reiterate to folks that if you're watching me tonight on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun on Facebook, please consider sending some stars my way. Sending stars allows the algorithm to allow Facebook to show us off to more people. And that's always what we want. We want more people to be able to see folks like Dan and maybe help him sell some more books because he put a lot of work into it. And it's also a way to support GhostBox Radio. Another way to support GhostBox Radio is please consider signing up and supporting me through Patreon. I am very separate from AM 950, so every little bit helps. And I hope you don't mind me outing you, Dan. You are a Patreon supporter of mine, and thank you very much. That's very kind of you. So I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Feel no need to feel like you need to answer my questions. I guess we don't understand how the radio.
It sounded more like a statement. I'm feeling like Bruce Willis in Fifth Element.
I'm feeling like someone who's never been on a radio show is someone I'm talking to right now. We got Dan Myers over here. His books, The Knight's Trials, you can get them through Amazon. I'm going to add them to GhostBox Book Club. These are great. I have Eliandre Rising. I don't have Attack on Foresight. That is relatively recent. How long ago did that come out?
Well, it technically came out in August, but I had to pull it because they messed up the inside. Ingram Sparks, who does the things and it's still, I had to pull it again and redo it. Just they've changed the way they've done this setup,
like the layout of inside the book and stuff.
So I had like page one on the left side, instead of the facing side. And it's just stuff like that I had to go in and re-edit. It takes like 2 weeks every time you do that. Like about the beginning of the year. Actually like February, I think we finally got everything fixed and got it out there. I could pull a copy and show you some of the bad things that happened, but if I had your address, I would have mailed you a signed copy.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm not getting a copy. So here's the thing. We're talking about the books themselves and having Eliandre. I can get it from you from Convergence. So we'll talk more about.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Getting the book, Eliandre Rising. First of all, the books they're only hardcover, right? No, you got softcover now too, paperbacks.
I've got both of them are. Ebooks. I had so much trouble with the hardcover with Attack on Foresight. I haven't done the soft cover, but I'll be doing that shortly.
Okay.
And then I'll be working on the audiobook for Attack on Foresight. Eliandre Rising is already out on audiobook. So Eliandre is all four media, and Attack on Foresight is currently in 2, and it probably by the end of the year it'll be in all 4 as well.
Well, and you had given me the hardcover, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful book, a beautiful cover, and obviously the story inside is very well written. And I just think that. And Dan, I always think this is kind of how you operate, because when you published Eliandre, you published it as a hardcover, like a really nice hardcover. And that kind of, to me, sums you up. That's the kind of person that you are. You're someone who's if you're going to do it, you're going to do it as good as possible. And that's just how I feel that you do stuff. And these books are beautiful. And anyone who collects fiction, want to read something new, if you haven't got around to it, I really do implore you to check out these books because, first of all, helping Dan out, and you've put a considerable amount of effort into getting these books done, and you literally have done it all on your own, and that's incredible. I mean, you have to be like pretty proud of yourself.
I am, and this is a labor of love. I mean, I'm not expecting to get rich or even break even doing this, and I'm fine with that. I really kind of wrote it just to kind of leave a legacy for my grandchildren so that they could have the books on their bookshelf. But people have enjoyed the book. I've gotten a number of good reviews. I've had some bad reviews as well, but you always get those.
Sorry about that, by the way. I just was in a bad mood.
But yeah, it's been a labor of love, and I go through 3 editors plus Roger, who's got an English degree, kind of is my first editor before I send it off. So there's a lot of work involved and a lot of time, effort, and money involved. Hiring the voice actors to do the audiobook, and you basically have to rewrite the whole book and break it into scenes, break the individual scenes out for that, and then have them read the individual scenes out. And I have 2 perspectives so I'm a male voice actor for the male points of view and the female for the female points of view. I have a lot of points of view in the book, which some people have complained about, but again, I just read Robert Jordan, Wheel of Time, when I kind of started this. And so he uses a lot of different voices. And so that's kind of the style that I follow. I'm somebody who works in production. I do production at the station. I've done production my whole life, including audio production. And I just can't even see how someone like yourself, who had really no production background, is something like, well, and I'm making an audio book of my book that I wrote, from scratch. And that's incredible. I mean, that had, like you said, it sounds like a lot of work. And are you happy with the results with that? Yeah, I really am. I thought that it turned out well having the 2 voices or 2 different voice actors. It really, I thought, brought life to a lot of the characters and a lot of the scenes that even when you read, sometimes you don't get that emotional. And if the voice actor is good and puts the emotion in their voice and stuff, it can really add to the novel. So that was fantastic from that point or that perspective. I was going to say with that, which I think is very interesting, is voice actors will give their own cadence to the lines. They'll give and did you ever, after hearing them do the book, did you ever try to replicate a cadence or any sort of attributes of how they read into future stuff, that even stuff you're writing now? No, I haven't yet, because like the second book was nearly written by the time, because I was just like now, I mean, I'm still working on parts of the second book, like the audio book, and I'm writing an anthology, and I'm writing the third book. And so I'm working on multiple projects at once. So by the time I heard a lot of the stuff from the audiobook, most of book 2 was already written. Now, I'm not saying that won't bleed into book 3. Yep. But I mean, all 3 books really could almost be standalone books. However, they all kind of tell a story, and there's themes that run through all 3, or storylines that run through all 3. And you would want people to start with Alejandra Rising. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. When starting that book, when starting the whole process,
Is there one character that was like the start of the whole Knight's Trial? And I'm even just curious if there's characters that you thought were going to take a lead throughout the books, but actually through your discovery phase, they end up not being quite as dominant as you expected them to be.
Yeah. So Alejandre, the first book, is he is the focus.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought of carrying that through in the second book. But I mean, he almost disappears, and it's really more Braxlow and Lolark, their show, and Fairwind as well. And so both Sibley and Alejandre, who are kind of fairly prominent in the first book, are not quite so prominent in the second book.
Okay.
They're still in it. They're still doing stuff, but I don't want to give away the book, but
No.
they end up not having as big of an impact as or not being involved in the storyline as much as other characters. And I kind of wanted that too, because I didn't want it to just be about them. I wanted it to be about the party as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And so other characters do take more part in the action. I mean, Alejandre Rising, as I said, is pretty much follows Alejandre as he prepares for this tournament and then competes in the tournament. So him and Sibley are very prominent, but it also gives me a chance to introduce the magic system and introduce a lot of world building without trying to introduce all these other. I mean, I do introduce all these other characters, but they're not really heavy in the storyline.
Do you get? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just said it's that was purposeful. Is that I didn't want to throw 10 storylines out in the first book, and I thought it would bog down. So I tried to keep it pretty much following the one main storyline, and then the second book, more other storylines that were started, develop, and in the third book the same thing. Storylines from the first book are kind of finish their arc for some of the other characters.
Do you get bored writing some of the characters? Like if they're in a lot of a book, do you ever get kind of like, I'm ready to move on to kind of have the story focus on other characters?
So yes and no. I don't know about bored, but sometimes I'm just kind of like, I got to figure out how this resolves itself, because I know generally how it's going to resolve itself, but I got to put more thought into, like when you have an outline, you have one sentence, and then you've got to turn that sentence into 40 pages. So it's how do you do that? And so I don't know about bored, but I'll just get frustrated with the storyline and just be like, okay, I'm going to put this aside, because I just I don't want to work on it right now, and there's something really big I want to do.
Yeah, I bet. And that probably gives you fire to go back at some point and pick up where you got frustrated, I suppose, and maybe with some fresh eyes or a fresh attitude or something.
Oh yeah. Well, and as you write more, you're like, oh, I could do this with that. And then, then it kind of, I won't say writes itself, but a lot of writers talk about how the characters tell them what they're going to do, which none of my characters ever do that. But when I'm writing some scenes, that'll key me of, oh, okay, I could tie this into there, and that's how I can bring that in. So I know what I want to do, but how to do it. And sometimes when you're writing another part, you're like, that's going to work really well together.
I love that. We're talking with Daniel Myers. He is the author and creator of the Knight's Trials series. The books are available on Amazon, and I'll put up a link on GhostBox Book Club as well. Why don't we fit in another break here to get to our final segment? And if you have any questions for Dan, put them into the comments. I see a couple there I'd like to read through. If you're fine with that, Dan, when we come back.
Sure.
So we will do that. And anything on your mind, put it in the comments. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950.
It's that time of year again where the weather is getting nice and it's time to get out of the house for some family fun. Lilliput is the perfect place and is open for the season. Be the first to take on their newest escape room, The Bunker. It's intense, exciting, and totally unforgettable. Prefer spooky? Try the Haunted Mansion. When you're done escaping, hit the mini golf course, go-karts, and jump pads. Lilliput is perfect for parties and group events too. Visit lilliput.net for hours and start your spring adventures at Lilliput. Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations, exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. And join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. We are doing a replay tomorrow night, and we're going back to July of 2024. There is a Just Greg episode that is a conversation about shadow people. And we originally were supposed to have Heidi Hollis join us, and she was unable to join us that night. So I just put up a conversation myself. We also played some EVPs and stuff in there as well. So please check that out. Greatly appreciate it. And then Adam and I will be back on Friday for Casual Friday with Question of the Week and all sorts of good stuff. Please stop in then and get your paranormal on. As we get closer to the weekend, we have with us tonight, we have author Daniel Myers, the author of The Knight's Trials, the series. It's 2 books out now. A third one's being worked on now. You can get them through Amazon. I'm going to put a link on GhostBox Radio, GhostBox Book Club, affiliated Amazon link. And a couple things I want to say. First of all, you are going to be back up in Twin Cities in July for Convergence. You're going to have a room party, right?
You betcha. We're going to have the Wyvern's Airy, which is the tavern that's in the book.
Okay, yep, okay.
And so we recreate that, or create that, if you will, at a Convergence every year. We'll be serving food and various alcoholic and non-alcoholic libations for people to enjoy. And I always like to have food at a con because, as we have experienced, that's always the last thing you want to spend your money on. And food is generally really expensive at the hotel, especially downtown Minneapolis. Even if you go outside the hotel, food is generally pretty expensive. And so I'd like to be able to give people just something a little hot, a little filling, keep them going through the convention. So if you're going to Convergence, look for the Wyvern's Airy.
And that's the best part is that once again, and that's going to be July 3rd through 6th in Minneapolis. And once again, Dan, you don't do anything in half measures. The food, you go to some parties and no one is obligated to serve anything, right? But you go to some parties and they have some interesting stuff, a lot of snack stuff. You always have like really, really good food. And I don't mean to, I don't know if that's what you're planning this year or not, if you're planning on cutting back, but in the past, it's been just some very amazing, delicious food that people have just been so excited to have.
Yeah, we're going to for sure do pulled pork because that has been very popular.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. People like that and do a little pulled pork sandwich, have a little bread, a little meat. We try to do a little more than a little bread. So, yeah. I mean, they're not sliders. So we try to give somebody something substantial. Mm-hmm. We're also going to do the root stew again this year for the vegetarian or vegan and gluten-free option for people. Last year, we did a brisket for ourselves. And I think I'm going to do at least one brisket again this year, just to have it in the room, and might do one brisket a night, just again, for those people who have come and who've bought the book and read the book and comment about the book. And it's like, you know what? I think you need some brisket.
Yeah.
So hopefully people will come and visit us at Convergence.
That'd be fun. And it's a great room, great music, great vibe. And you do truly turn the room into a tavern, and it's very cool. And so once again, if you're going out to Convergence, go out there July 3rd through 6th, and stop by the room. And once I know what room you're in, I can make sure people know listening as well, and share that with people, because it's worth it. It's fun. I was out there last year. It was a great time.
Yeah, it really is. And we've got there's a guy that came by that played the lute, and he just kind of played bard songs where he'd play modern songs on the lute, which I absolutely love that. Mm-hmm. And he agreed this year he's going to be performing at the room every night.
Wow.
For at least an hour, and maybe two. And so, yeah, it was nice to kind of get his commitment on that. And, we try to make the room bring something to it every year. And that's what we're trying to do this year. And we spend a little more on decorations and the theme of the room. So we're doing some more again this year, and hopefully we'll, when people come in, they'll be like really impressed with the room.
That's great. I'm so happy to hear that. So yeah, we'll talk more. We'll remind people as we get closer. And it's another reason I'd really like to ask people to, if you're interested in fantasy, if you're interested in this book, really consider giving it a go, because I mean, as you can see, Dan, you're doing everything you can to promote it in fun, creative ways and giving back. So I think that's fantastic. When we were talking, one of the things I thought about, have you ever thought about reaching out to like a college or something, or trying to maybe do your own online thing about how to self-publish? Because I mean, you have learned from the ground up all this stuff, and you could probably make somebody's life a lot easier than what you had to deal with when you had to go this route and do all of this.
Yeah, and that's something I talk to anybody who asks me questions. I talk about that. I bought like 100, or I think it was 100 ISDNs, the book numbers. Mm-hmm. And I did that. So I told people, if you need help going through Ingram Sparks or going somewhere to put it together, I'll help you. And you can put the ISDN number on it. And if you would like to, you can put the Wyvern Zeri logo on it and kind of have it look like, more of a professional publisher, if you will, kind of feel for it. And I got that idea from a couple other people who are, they're actually charging for it. I'm not planning on charging anybody, but Roger and I, that's something that we want to work on, is kind of getting this to where it's a label or a publisher.
Yeah.
An independent publisher. Everybody knows it's an independent publisher. We're not trying to act like we're a publishing house, but just that goes and helps people out with their publishing who are new to it, or like me, have an accounting degree and don't know the first thing about any of this. And even helping them find voice actors if they need to, or going through Authors Republic or wherever they want to go to get their audiobook published.
That's really nice. And that's, I love that. And there's a lot of people who, don't know what to do. It's daunting, and it's not as straightforward as it looks, right? That's the whole thing. It's like, well, I'll just write and publish it, but that's not how it works.
No, and there's so many things I learned the hard way that I really wish I had done the research, or at least done better research before I started. Even things such, like book length. I found out after I wrote my 187,000 word book that most publishers want to see between 90 to max 120,000 words out of a first-time fantasy novel.
Wow.
And so it's like, oh, okay, that's good to know. But I got that response back from somebody I had sent, an agent I had sent the manuscript to represent me. And they just wrote back and they just said, this is way too long. And they were very nice. And they said, you're probably not going to have any luck so then I pared it down to about 135,000 words, but it's still too long. And so That's kind of when I went the self-publishing route. But had I known that in the first place, then I would have, I would have had that kind of as my guideline.
Yep.
Instead of just kind of wanting to, I was trying to write a Jordan novel and they wanted a tour book,
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, and I don't know if I've even said 187,000 words yet in my life. So, I can understand that a little bit, but I suppose too, it's like, this is your world you're creating, and best when to end the story. And you see books that are very big out there. So I don't know. I think I would have been also like, if I was a writer, I'd probably be the same way. Like, they're gonna want to see more, and I'm gonna want to provide more. And clearly, I'm as surprised as you probably were to hear that, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's first books, and that's so. What I was told was, once you get a book that's a bestseller or a good seller, then you have more leeway with what you can sell on the stories. But until then, you got to kind of follow their formula and, do it their way if you want to get published in the traditional publishing.
Yeah, makes sense. We have about 2.5 minutes left here. And I found this an interesting question in the comments. Damien says, would you consider using AI to create languages if you upload all race information into database, or do you feel it takes away the personal connection with the reader the more non-human you add to a novel?
I think AI is a useful tool. It's something I've played with, but I've not really explored that deeply. What I've done with AI, I've had tried to have AI write scenes where I've, basically plugged in all the key elements of a scene and put it in, and, you got to run 4 or 5 iterations of it
Yeah.
And then kind of piece them together, because even within a scene, it'll be inconsistent. It's not, and it's probably the user error, but it's not as useful as it's not like I could not write a book with it. Right. I'd have a hard time even writing a scene with it. There are things that it does where it has some interesting ideas when you're putting a scene in. I have used some of that. But as far as like putting a language, I wouldn't even try that, because I wouldn't know enough about the language to know if it's a good language or a bad language or consistent.
Right.
You know, Tolkien was an expert on languages, and he knew how to put together sentences and all that. So I wouldn't do it, because I don't know how. I don't think I'm versed in AI well enough to do that. But if somebody did, I think it'd be an interesting thing to try. If you,
it'd certainly be an interesting experiment. Now, I want to just kind of point out here, if you want to follow Dan, you can still go to the Knight's Trials on Facebook, right, and join the group.
Yep. And
I'm going there now and seeing that you did not promote this show tonight, so that's a mark against you.
Yes, I did. No, not tonight, because I just got internet today. I'm sorry.
Not tonight.
I have not had internet for a couple days.
Well, that's okay. That's fine. That's on you. So no, but folks, go to Amazon, get the Knight's Trial, get both. Check out Alejandre Rising, Book 1, Attack on Foresight, Book 2 is available there as well. Dan, we have to go. Thank you so very much for your time tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Greg. It's always great talking to you.
Absolutely. We'll be back tomorrow, talk about shadow people. Good night, everyone.